Well, hello, traders and investors. I'm LA Little. This is your daily NeoTA wrap. We take a look at these markets, and we're doing it from a neoclassical perspective, and that's a different rhyme to it, right? We're not looking at the patterns that you see, heads and shoulders and wedges and what else is out there. I mean, all kinds of derivative indicators, most of them off moving averages. We're looking at supply and demand on the tape. We're reading the tape for information, for clues. And each and every day, I tell you what I believe is going to happen. It's a test of what should happen. You examine it, it gives you information, and you make decisions based on that information. I do this show 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday, broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time. It's archived on YouTube under the channel, LA Little. If you want to subscribe, just reach up in the right-hand corner and do so anytime I push public content. You'll get a notification. As far as these markets last night, we were talking about the fact that they tried to take them down, couldn't. We should expect it to try and rise, and that's what it did. The key spot on the way up, 24.4273, got to 24.43 and a quarter, so he got over that high. And let's see here, 24.22, so it's going to actually get a trend change. You're going to go back to sideways. So we got a sideways market, right? Range consolidation. On this, we've tested, we've held. That range is still in effect, going back up to look at the top side one more time. Every time you do this, right, the odds build that one side or the other is going to break. But right now, it's still kind of young in the range, because if we look back here on a weekly, you know, we're just pity-pattering around in this little tight range up here at the top. And that little range is what we were just looking at. You know, the bigger move will be to test back into here. Still hasn't done it. That would be more than 6 bars since it broke out. And so from here to here, more than 6 bars. And when you get that, right, the test of that breakout point, probably going to get bought. So all of that tells you you really need to be leaning long, not short, and not on the sidelines most of the time. Here's the NASDAQ, the NDX. Now remember, these guys had broken down. They had led this market down. Swing point high here, another one there. Are we going to get a lower one here? That's what classical TA says, a series of lower lows and lower highs. Well, I guess we could call these lower lows and lower highs, right? So is that a downtrend? Well, yeah, I guess it's a downtrend, but we knew that back here, right? That's where the downtrend took place. You don't have to wait forever to know these things. Just look at supply and demand. Look at it on the charts. Russell going back the other way, coming back to the top. Now this one also doing a nice little consolidation up here in this range. Most of the trading action over the last month and a half has been in this area. If you go back, it's actually for a long period of time, it was this range and the range back up underneath it. And so far, it's holding the higher range, hasn't been able to break out, but doesn't want to break down. We got corporate earnings starting up this Friday. The big 3, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup, I believe, are the first to hit the tape. That will be our first good look at some of the big caps. We've had about 20 or so companies so far, and surprisingly, most of them have beat on the top and bottom lines. The bar is higher this time as a result of that, and the question will be is how do they handle it? Let's take a look at the major sectors here, see if we see anything of interest. I talked about the healthcare would probably get a bounce out of here. Let me pop down to the XLV. That was the one I was focused on. And the reason for it is the way it came back. Yep, got a nice little pop on some volume this morning and actually came right into the area that you would have expected. This little area here, that's where the volume was. It's the low of the high. That's where you should expect resistance on the first push. 7986, 7978 is where it got to. Decent volume on it. I would expect it tries again. Let's look at the rest of them. Consumer discretionary has been kind of in a lull. No volume coming into it. Got a pop. That doesn't make me think a lot. And this one, you know, again, when we talk about neoclassical, we look at areas of supply and demand where things should happen. When this one came down, right? Came down with volume, tested that bullish retest regenerate. Should it test to the bottom of it? Yeah, it should, but it shouldn't test with more volume. You typically don't want to see that. What volume are we comparing it to? Well, the volume we're comparing to is back here, which was the volume off that high. And you can see it hit it with more volume. Well, so what does it do? Well, it gets a little bounce and then eventually gets up underneath there and then slowly just works its way down. That's told to us on this bar that is a good chance that is what we're going to see happen, and that is what happened. And matter of fact, if you actually draw them out, you can project it. Once you get the B point, you can project where the thing's going to go, and lo and behold, it pretty much goes there. Neoclassical at work, folks. It works pretty darn good. I've been showing it to you forever. I don't know what else to tell you. It just is what it is. Utilities get a little pop. Now, utilities on a daily, and here we go again. Let's just talk about what should happen. You're coming back up. This is a bullish retest regenerate on the way down. What does it do? Well, hits it with more volume. What are you comparing to? Breakout bar, low volume on that, so that ain't going to cut it. On this bar, low volume on that. So you hit it with more volume. What does it do? Tries to bounce, which is what it should do on that bullish retest regen, and then it just goes right underneath it. So as it comes back, what should you expect? You should expect a failure, right? This thing should not go right back up to the highs. That just is not likely. Where can it go? Well, it can come all the way back to these bearish retest regenerates now that are up here. Is it likely on this first bounce to go all up the way up there? Probably not. So you have to look elsewhere. Where was the last areas of significance? They were right in here. That's the place I would be looking for this thing to bounce to and potentially fail. XLP, boy, now these guys have been under pressure. Let's take a look at them. Got a little bounce today, no volume. This one's sick, right? It's going to continue to get sicker. And this one, yeah, this is not a sector you want to be playing in. Technology, we talked about technology should get a bounce. It did. It's coming back up into, it actually got up today a good piece, right? So you're about halfway. If you take, a lot of people like to do fib stuff. If you take the top, take the bottom, take about halfway, well, that's about where you are. The fib guys will tell you 0.68. That's about right there at that swing point high. These things usually line up that way. If you want to just forget all the fib stuff, just look at where you would expect this thing to go, right? Where's your key areas? It's right in here. Where does it go on the first bounce? Right to it. And then that's the test, right? Test gets over it. Okay, that's good. The volume big? No, it isn't. So yeah, you get in the bounce, but you don't have big volume. What do you come into next? Well, if you go back, you look at wide price spread, you look at the anchor bars, right? This was the swing point high that was blown away on the way back, kind of lines up with this bar. That gives us a good test, and matter of fact, that's where we went to today. I wouldn't be surprised to see it try and pull back tomorrow. Industrials, let's take a look at that one. And that one's a test at the highs. Let's see what the top is. 6918 closes 6918. That is a test failure at the highs. Lower volume, you get over, back under. You actually got a little reversal doji potentially sitting up there. So that one also looks like it can come back. Now financials have already pulled in. They may pull in a little bit more in front of the earnings. And if they do, they're probably a buy. And the reason for that is that will be the first test on more than 6 bars on the way back in. If they pull back in here on weakness tomorrow, you'll want to be all over it for a trade most likely. XLE, this one's been dead forever. Let's see what it looks like. And getting ready to fell and go back down the other way. Basic materials, they were trying to break out. Couldn't do it, not yet. They're going to try and test the top. Those socks. This thing was left for dead. Gets a nice big bounce. That's usually what happens in tech. It's coming up to a key area as well. And finally, transports. Transports reconfirming Dow theory that this market wants to go higher eventually, and still looking pretty good. So what do we got here? A little bit of a mix on the sectors. We're right up to some key areas on And actually, let me go back and look at that one more time. Matter of fact, before I do that, let me pop over and look at the world markets. And you had Yellen today talking about, slow and easy, and that kind of got the dollar going down, and that helped some things. And so maybe that was really what everything was about. Here's the DAX coming up. I don't know what the volumes were, but the DAX is coming right back into an area that it should have difficulty about another 100 points higher. Let's see what the CAX did. It was stronger today on a percentage basis. Of course, it had sold off farther. Now this one's doing a bearish retest regen, so you actually get a test here tomorrow. And that's the test right there. Does it today. I don't know if it hit with more volume. Most likely didn't because the volume's kind of heavy. We'll see if it can get over it. If it does, it's got more problems here. It's got another bearish retest up there. Got another one over here. So you kind of get the feeling. As this thing goes up, right, there's more and more people want to sell into it. Why is that? Well, because all those people sold. Or matter of fact, all those people since the election are underwater. And that gives you a good reason to sell when you finally get your bounce. That's what resistance is all about. Let's go. I want to look real quickly at the currencies real quick. And I'm going to go zero in on the dollar to start with. Let's see what that one looks like. And not too bad. Actually held up okay. The European market, let's see what they look like. And that one also. So dollar doesn't look too bad here. Actually looks like it could try and bounce. Let me go back to the indexes and make a call for tomorrow. And let's see what it looks like again. So the S&P got over it. So the S&P can go higher. And the NASDAQ NDX, let's see what that one looks like again. There's nothing in place to stop it. So all you have is a few sectors pulling against this market. I would think that you get a minor pullback tomorrow, most likely. And then they'll try to push it again on Friday. Have a great one. Take care.